coffee shop if you have a moment. The coffee is always good and the fellowship is worth the trip. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to stay up to date with what's happening here at Maranatha. There are plenty of opportunities for connection all throughout the year, and we want you to be aware of them so you can come and join in.
If you have any elementary-age children, we would love to have them in Venture Kids. It's exciting, it's secure, and we make learning about Jesus fun. Just register them in the Family Life building before service starts.
Have you tried coming on Wednesday nights? There's something for everyone in the family. It's a great way to grow as a disciple, to train your family, and to get a midweek refuel to get you to the weekend. Our youth group, Synergy, begins at 6:30. Everything else is at 7 o'clock. We hope to see you this week.
It's almost service time. Please silence your cell phone. It only takes a moment and it could prevent distractions for your neighbors.
It's a great day to be in God's house. Let's stand on our feet, clap our hands. Good morning, Maranatha. Yeah.
it, church. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. How awesome is the Lord Most High. You're awesome, Lord. So awesome, Lord. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. How awesome is the Lord Most Savior right now. Thank you for your mercy shown to us, Lord. Let's keep those hands clapping, church. Lift your voice and sing it with us. Wonderful, so wonderful is your unfailing love. Your cross is spoken mercy over me. No eye has seen, no ear has heard, no heart can fully know how glorious, how beautiful you are. Praise you, Lord. Praise you, Lord. I love that that song says, my soul must sing. If I've been redeemed, there is no might. There is no if I feel like it. I am not given the option to let a rock cry out in my place. That's how good he's been to me. So Lord, I thank you for your grace. Thank you for your grace given to sinners, Lord. For your love that set us free. You're worthy of all the praise we have. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Amen. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear, the hour I first believed. My chains are gone, I've been set free. My God, my Savior has ransomed me. And like a flood, His mercy reigns. Unending love, amazing grace. Praise you for that grace, Lord. The Lord has promised good to me. His word my hope secures. He will my shield and portion be, as long as life endures. My chains are gone, I've been set free. My God, my Savior has ransomed me. And like a flood, His mercy reigns. Unending love, amazing grace. How sweet that sound. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun. Oh, we've known what it takes to sing God's praise. And when we first begun, my chains are gone, I've been set free. My God, my Savior has ransomed me. And like a flood, His mercy reigns. Unending love, amazing. Oh, my chains are gone, my chains are gone. I've been set free. My God, my Savior has ransomed me. And like a flood, His mercy reigns. Unending love, amazing grace. Oh, thank you for that grace, Lord. My chains are gone. My chains are gone. I remember them, but I don't have to carry them anymore. I don't have to carry those chains anymore. Jesus Christ removed them single-handedly. We're going to sing a new song today. And as we do, I'm going to encourage you, as you read the words, think about it. It's a rich, rich song. A song of thanksgiving for the grace we've been given. Praise to the great God. Sing it, Stephanie.
What gift of grace is Jesus my Redeemer? There is no more for heaven now to give. He is my joy, my righteousness and freedom, my steadfast love, my deep and boundless peace. To this I hold, my hope is only Jesus. For my life is wholly bound to His. Oh, how strange and divine, I can sing all is mighty and not mine, but through Christ in me.
That's our testimony, church. We have all in Christ. We have all through Christ. It's all because of His goodness.
The night is dark, but I am not forsaken. For by my side, the Savior, He will stay. I labor on in weakness and rejoicing. For in my need, His power is displayed.
Yes.
To this I hold, my shepherd will defend
I got this between services. I'm watching from Chicago. Awesome sermon. Brutally honest, anointed by God. So thankful our church has been blessed to have you and technology to share God's words. Blessings and hugs to you. Isn't that good? Yeah. Another one said, me. I needed that today. Thank you. Such a needed sermon. It's good to have technology to share around the world. We welcome those who are joining us today by live stream. We're so glad to have you. You're at Maranatha Family Church in Rincon, Georgia. What a great place to be. Can't think of a place I'd rather be than be right here, right today. I just want to ask God to come and be with us. I think He's already here, but it's good to offer an invitation to Him anyway, isn't it? Father, how grateful we are to have you here today. It wouldn't be what it is without you. Nothing we could do, as good as we could sing or as best we could preach, would never be the same without you. So we need you, and we thank you for it today. I ask you to come and join with us today in such a way that when we leave this place, we'll know it's been good to have been in the house of God. Thank you so much. We love you, and thank you for your grace and your mercy. In Jesus' name, amen. Why don't you take a minute, greet somebody, tell them you're glad they're here. Way too much fun here. You're having way too much fun, so run back to your seat. Hey, you're not supposed to be having fun at church. What can I tell you? It's great to have fellowship, isn't it? Enjoy the blessings of each other and enjoy just what you need to do is come a little early, hang out in a coffee shop, and fellowship, because you enjoy it. Obviously, you enjoy it a lot, so maybe you ought to try that. It might work for you. I'm having to do this today. Pastor Branson's out of town, and I'm just not used to it, to tell you the truth, so I'm trying not to forget anything. We're so glad you're here today. We had an awesome first service, and I'm looking for God to do the same in this one. I feel His presence here today. And it's been in the music, it's been in the sermon, it's been a good part of the day. I want to ask our ushers if they'll come this morning. We're going to receive our tithes and our kingdom builders. You've heard us call that, use that phrase now for a little bit. And the reason is kingdom builders is what we've started calling our missions. And what it does, it encompasses the whole thing. We gave this year, I just got a letter in the mail this week. We gave $318,000 to missions this year and endeavors. Not only that, but I got an email today, or the other day, from one of our head execs in Springfield. And he said, I just want to congratulate you and Maranatha Family Church. You're number 90 in the nation. Now, you may not think much about that, but there's over 13,000 churches in America. We were number 90. We were within the top 100 in giving. That's what you did. That's what you did. You are awesome, and I just want you to know that this morning. We got one little one back there just clapping. Thank you so much for your tithe and your offerings. It's the way we keep everything going. Pay the light bill and water bill and all those other. I told them if you didn't tithe this week, next week we're giving everybody a $100 bill. Light bill, water bill. And you're going to get to pay them. Thank you for your giving. You're awesome. And I know God will bless us for it. Father, thank you for this day. You've given us the opportunity. You could take care of this thing any way you chose. But you chose to use us so that you could open the windows of heaven and pour out blessings on us. What a God you are, that would just want to give it back to us, pressed down and shaken together and running over. Thank you for that. Thank you for all you do for us and all you do for this church. It's in Jesus' name that we do it and we ask it. Amen.
Good morning, Maranatha. Thank you so much for choosing to begin your day in worship here with us. Let's take a moment and see what's coming up on our church calendar.
Venture Kids and Synergy are coming together for the month of March to raise money for missions. They will be doing a skate-a-thon this Wednesday. If you would like to support them or want your kids to participate, you still have time. We hope you will be a part of helping us raise money to spread the gospel.
If you have put your faith in Jesus for salvation but have not followed him in water baptism, we are offering that opportunity on April 2nd following the 10:50 service. If you want to be included, please let Pastor Riner know as soon as possible.
Ladies, mark your calendars now for our annual Ladies Brunch on Saturday, May the 6th. There is a sign-up sheet in the foyer if you and your friends would like to decorate a table. Details of the day and invitations will be out in a few weeks. We hope you make plans to join us.
Venture Kids is beginning to collect candy for this year's Easter exploration. This is open to our kids and the community, so we need all the candy we can get. There's a donation box set up in the foyer. Please make sure the candy you donate will fit in an egg and won't melt. Thanks for your support.
We have a problem, and we need your help. It's a good problem, but it needs to be managed. Maranatha is growing fast, and it's not just here in the sanctuary. Our nursery is getting more full every week. We've had to expand our nursery room, and we have a real need for volunteers. If you can help out even once a month, please see Casey or Yulie today and help us steward the growth that God is sending us.
Our Easter exploration will be on April 8th from 11:30 to 1:30. Registration is now open for kids walking through 5th grade. You can do so now by using the QR code on the screen or on our app or website. We also have a sign-up sheet at the Information Center for those who would like to volunteer. There are lots of ways that you can help. Please go check it out. Thanks again for worshiping with us today.
I speak the name of Jesus over you. In your hurting, in your sorrows, I will ask my God to move. I speak the name 'cause it's all that I can do. Desperation, I'll seek heaven and pray this for you. I pray for your healing, that circumstances would change. I pray that the fear inside would flee in Jesus' name. I pray that a breakthrough would happen today. I pray miracles over your life in Jesus' name, in Jesus' name. I speak the name of all authority, declaring blessings, every promise He is faithful to keep. I speak the name no grave could ever hold. He is greater, He is stronger, He's the God of possible. I pray for your healing, that circumstances would change. I pray that the fear inside would flee in Jesus' name. I pray that a breakthrough
Sometimes it's moments of brokenness which create the greatest transformations. Times where fear gives birth to faith, pain leads to healing, and chaos dissolves into peace. It's in these times we often see God more clearly. For in our deepest turmoil, He remains faithful. When our spirit is crushed, He remains strong. When our moment is too heavy, He carries the burden. As gold is refined by fire, we too are often refined by struggle. It's part of growing, changing, becoming. Lately, the journey has been difficult. Our breath has been labored. Our steps uneasy. But we stand in faith, knowing who is leading us through this desert. The God of peace, the God of hope, the God of restoration.
I like that word, restoration. Makes me feel good. Last week, we started just a 2-week sermon series, if you want to call it that. Just a really long sermon. In fact, I had trouble getting through it again this morning, so I'm praying the Lord will help me through this one as well. But we talked about burnout. Some people may say, well, you know, Pastor, you're preaching that, but that doesn't affect me. It may not affect you today, but if you live long enough, it will. If you live long enough, you'll find yourself in that place. You can call it burnout or dropout, or you can call it a lot of things. What it means is that you've reached a place in your life that you absolutely have no other place to turn, and your life has fallen apart. And if you've ever been there, or you've ever lived there, it's a tough place to be. Last week, we talked about a man named Elijah, and we looked in chapter 19 in the book of 1 Kings. And it's a story that God lays out for us. I learned a long time ago, and you've heard me say it, that one of my favorite scriptures is Romans, that teaches us all things that were written before were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. So when I read a story like that, I always try to figure out, how does it affect me? What is it speaking? What is God trying to say to me? Because I believe God has, this is different than any other book. This book is able to take the same verse and say something differently all across this congregation. No other book that I know of has that kind of power, that can speak to my life and my need and speak across the world to somebody else in their need and their time. So that's why it was written for our learning. And so last week we talked about, how many of you were not here? If you weren't here and you didn't get to see it, if you'll go on our Facebook page and our app and wherever else we have it, you can pick it up, watch the one last week and add it to this one. But we talked about what it meant to be burnout. And we talked about Elijah, and I want to go just real quickly over the signs of burnout, what we talked about. Number one, we depreciate our worth. That is, little tape starts going over in our mind saying, I'm a nobody, I'm not worth anything, nobody cares, things like that, and depreciates who we are. But I'm going to tell you something, that's never God, never God. God never depreciates us. God gave His only begotten Son. I mean, He loves us abundantly. So you can always figure when that little tape starts going off in your mind, I'm nobody, I'm no good, my life doesn't matter, I'm insignificant, I don't count. You can know for a surety that's the devil. And he's trying to get you. And you're headed for burnout. And we talked about how that Elijah verse 4 of chapter 19, it said, Elijah went to a broom tree, sat down under the tree, and prayed, take my life. I'm no better than all of my ancestors. And we circle that word, I'm no better, because we start comparing ourselves to others. And we look at their lifestyles, and somehow we focus in our mind, and we're saying, well, you know, their life is so much better than mine. Oh, they have it made. They've got money. They've got a house. They've got a great marriage. They've got a good job. They've got this. And we start comparing ourselves, and the devil makes us think everybody's better than we are. But the truth is, you don't know what's going on in that home. You don't know what's going on that job. You don't know what's going on with those kids. You don't know. So quit comparing yourself. But that's what the devil does. And we start depreciating our worth. Secondly, we underrate our work. That is, in 1 Kings 19:19, he says, I've worked very hard for the Lord God of the heavens. And then he uses that conjunction, but. And then he starts talking about how Israel has broken their covenant with God and how they've torn down their altars. You know what he's doing? He was simply saying, I've been a really good servant of you, and I've worked hard, but I don't know what's wrong with all these other people. They're falling apart. He starts taking the blame for all the other things that are happening. Let me tell you something. You cannot take the blame for things you cannot control. If it's out of your control, if it's out of your reach, it's not your fault. You can't help it. I can't help what the world is doing. I'll read the newspaper or look at the news briefly or whatever, and I understand. I can't help it. I cannot change. I don't have the power. So you know what? I quit carrying that burden. I quit carrying that burden. I'm still care. I still want it to do better, but I understand that I cannot take the blame for something I cannot control. In fact, I don't really want to take that blame. You're setting yourself for burnout whenever you try to become general manager of the universe. And this is a burden that God never intended on you to carry. You can't help everything your brother does, everything your sister does, everything your children does, everything your wife does, everything your husband does. Despite the fact that Teresa says everything is my fault. Thirdly, we exaggerate our problems. Now, I know none of you would, of course, but we do. We overemphasize what's wrong in our lives, and we ignore the blessings that God has given us. Look at Elijah in verse 10, last part of it. I'm the only one left, and they're trying to kill me too. I'm it. I'm all by myself. He wasn't all by himself. One, God was with him. Two, 7,000 people are still out there going to town with it. God, I'm the only person in the whole world that lives for you. You ever feel like that? If you let that become your whole outlook in life, you'll begin to think you're the only one left on the whole planet, universe, and you're by yourself. I'm all by myself. Poor old me. He is so drained emotionally and spiritually and physically that he can't even focus on reality. Because when you get in that kind of funk, you get in that place of depression or oppression, you quit seeing things like they are. You begin to see things that's not there. You begin to, nobody cares. Everybody's against me. You see somebody, hey, listen. You see somebody talking in a corner, you go, they're talking about me. They don't even know you exist. Oh, they're talking about me. We had a lady came here one time some years ago, and that's what she told me. She saw two women talking one day, and they were talking about me. I said, they don't even know who you are. They were talking about me. I know they were. When you get paranoid, depressed, burn out, that's what you do. Your fellow workers, they're talking about me. That's what they're doing. He says, they're trying to kill me. And he's talking about Jezebel. I told you last week, he thought one woman could kill him. I just tell him we kind of knew that ahead of time. But he's exaggerating. Emotions lie, right? Feelings lie. Yeah, some of you came to church today thinking about that. We talked about that. We talked about the last one. We abdicate our dreams, or we abandon our dreams. You lose your vision. You kind of, when you start to burn out, you forfeit your future because you try to live in the past. And that's what he's doing. Now, it says of Elijah, he prayed that he might die, and he said, Lord, I've had enough. That is, you stop caring. You quit caring about what's going on. I found that to be true in my own life. When I went through that 10 years of funk I was in, I found out that I caught myself saying stuff like, I don't care anymore. I don't want to do it anymore. I'm out. And all of a sudden I didn't have dreams, and I didn't have a future. And I knew that I was in trouble. He said I might die. So some of you may be at that point today. And the latter part of this sermon is more important to me than the first part of it. We need to recognize when we're burning out, or when we're losing out, or when we're falling out, or tuning out, or whatever way you want to call it. But the big thing is, how do I get out of that? Because that's the most important thing. So I think you do 4 things, and here's one of them. Rest your body. You say, that's too simplistic. But you'd be surprised how many people deal with that. This deals with the physical side of burnout. There is much reality in the physical side of burnout as there is an emotional side of burnout. Notice what he says. Lord, take my life. I'm no better than my ancestors. I've had enough. It's over. I quit. I give up. I'm out. And look what happens. It says, he lay down under a tree and fell asleep. All at once, the angel touched him and said, get up and eat. And he looked around, and there by his head was a cake of bread over hot coals and a jar of water. And he ate and he drank, and he lay down again to go to sleep. Then the angel came back a second time and touched him and said, get up and eat. Have you ever thought about that? I'm sure you've heard preachers preach about it, but I like this. This is God's first step in getting over the kind of attitude that Elijah has here. He said, I want you to sleep, and I want you to eat, and then I want you to sleep, and then I want you to eat. He's saying you've got to take care of your physical body. Notice, he doesn't say when you're depressed, go out shopping. Oh, yeah. You ain't using that lie on your husband no more. I'm depressed, I'm going shopping. I found out some people eat when they're depressed. He does want you to eat, but he don't want you to eat everything. Some of you are so stressed out because all you eat is tofu and birdseed. You're so skinny, you need to eat something. Just saying. I love this about God. When Elijah burned out, he didn't give him a lecture. He didn't scold him. He didn't say, get a life, Elijah. Remember what happened 2 days ago? You remember just a few days ago, I rained fire out of heaven. I consumed the sacrifice, licked up the water. We killed the prophets of Baal. And now you're over here going, I don't want to live anymore. God said, boy, you tired. You just need to rest. Did you ever notice that you get all emotional when you get tired like that? Teresa said, she knows when I'm tired, I'm ill. I don't know what that means. And I snap at her and say, I don't know what that means. No, I'm kidding. I don't really do it. I found out you need to rest. He didn't say, get it together. He didn't say, you got your whole life. Whip yourself into shape. Pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. None of that. Get rid of that mood you're in. That's for women. He didn't preach at him. He didn't yell at him. His first antidote was to sleep and eat. Now, God understands your body better than you do. He wrote in Psalm 127:2 in the Living Bible, he wrote this: God wants his loved ones to get their proper rest. Why? Because you can't operate if you're physically, mentally, and emotionally burnt out. You can't do it. I tell you, sometimes in life, the most spiritual thing you can do is go to sleep. And I might add, it's probably good for your family as well. I told him, Robert plays our drums. I go to gym every morning. I go fairly early. I'm an early riser, and I go. So I get there about 4:30. Robert's already there. Dude, do you spend the night up here or what? He's already there. He's leaving just about the time I get through walking and start working out. So I know what it is to be tired. And sometimes towards the end of the week, I got news for you. I'm just wore out. And I go to the gym. We don't do a lot up here on Fridays. We come if we have work to do, but that's kind of a day separate from church to get ready. And I go home on Fridays after I go to gym and then go eat. I go home and I get in my chair and I just fall asleep. And it takes me like 30 seconds. And I'm out. Because if I don't, I'm ill. And I get edgy and I don't feel like going and doing and all of these things. God wants us to get rest. Vince Lombardi, who I started to say pastor, who was the famous coach of the Green Bay Packers, he wrote one time and said, fatigue makes cowards of us all. Fatigue makes cowards of us all. Because it does things to our body that's not supposed to be done like that. When you get so tired, you just can't handle a lot. You can't handle everyday affairs. Here is Elijah, who just watched God 2 days ago do the most phenomenal miracle in the history of man, and 2 days later, he's laying up under a tree saying, just kill me, God, and take me home. You go, why are you doing that? He was tired. In fact, I went back and read it this week. He almost runs a day's journey. He just all out runs, gets to where he's going. He's all emotional. And sometimes one good night's rest is all you need. And I'm just telling you, it's okay to be lazy one day. Me and Teresa, we were lazy yesterday. It was a we ain't doing nothing day. We ain't going nowhere. We ain't eating out. She made oyster stew. It was easy to make. We stayed home. Didn't go anywhere. Why? We needed a day just to regroup. Never make a major decision when you're depressed. It's almost always going to be wrong. Never make a major decision when you're tired. It'll always be wrong. Wait until you've had a good night's sleep. Wait a little bit, and you can get recharged, and you can make it. I used to kid people. I was going night and day. Teresa had called one day, and she said, do I need to just bring you a cot up there? And she was serious, because I was going night and day. But I used to notice that sometime on Monday, I'd go to town, edge of town, practice leaving, just to make me feel good. You never resign on Monday. Never. If you resign on Monday, you'll be resigning all the time. You preach a bad sermon, resign. So I found out that you've got to give yourself time. God says to him through the angel, rest and eat. Rejuvenate. Get Before we go any further, Elijah, you need to rest. You know, I told him in the first service, I never realized how tired Elijah was. But think about this. He's asleep. The angel punches him and said, get up and eat. Do you think that he was a light sleeper? Somebody put a bed of coals and a piece of bread and a jug of water, and he never woke up. That tells me that boy was tired. Have you ever been that tired before, where nothing seems to arouse you? Wake up. So he gets him up and gives him food and said, eat. And then he goes right back to sleep. He is bone dead tired. Anytime the devil can get you there, he can get you to make wrong decisions, bad decisions, important decisions that are wrong. Don't let him do that. Number 2, release your frustrations. Now, for some of you, that may not be hard. Just say it. So if that dealt with the physical side of burnout, this deals with the emotional side of burnout. Think about this. Watch this. Revealing your feelings is the beginning of healing. Listen, you're not going to get well, you're not going to get to feeling good again until you learn to express those feelings that you've been holding in your heart. You're not going to do it. Any area of your life that you can't talk about is out of control. If you can't talk about it, you can't manage it. So if you keep it bottled in, ladies especially, you say, how do you know that, Pastor? Because there ain't a man in here that hasn't said, what is wrong with you? And you say, nothing. I've seen that face. I've seen that face before. What's wrong with you? Nothing. All right, we're going to get in trouble now, I can tell. Nothing. Well, honey, I can't do anything. Nothing. Is there something I said? Nothing. So I shut up. She'll tell me. It'll take a little bit, but she'll tell me. And she feels better after that. That's great healing for an argument. Is a little bit later, just a little bit. It'll all go away. If you can't talk about it, you can't fix it. If you can't talk about it, you can't manage it. So the second step in burnout is to face your frustration. It's to talk to God about whatever's bothering you. Don't complain to other people. They will gossip on you. Talk to God. Tell him, God, this is the way I feel. Express your feelings. Lay them all out. Look at chapter 19, verse 9 and 10. He says, then he went into a cave and he spent the night. And God said, what are you doing here, Elijah? Now, if you express that words differently, you can make it say anything. What are you doing here, Elijah? What are you doing here, Elijah? Elijah, what you doing here? He replies, I've been very zealous for the Lord. That's the first thing he defends himself. For those of you that say nothing's wrong, but you defend yourself, there's something wrong. He says, I've been very zealous for the Lord. In other words, I worked hard for the Lord. And then he adds that little conjunction in there again, but. Anytime you add but in there, you know there's more coming. They ain't finished. So he says basically, God, I've been living for you. I've been trying to do what's right. I've been a good person following your plan for my life. I've been this and I've been that. And then he unloads in the next few verses, he unloads. And God knew that Elijah, in his burnout condition, was a basket full of emotions. You say, preacher, how do you know this stuff? I've been there. I've been there. I've been there. I've told God, I was a good pastor. You let them people do that to me. That ain't fair. You did me wrong. You said that to God? Sure did. Because I wasn't going to serve him anyway. I was quitting. That's what Elijah's saying. I'm quitting. So he said, Elijah, What you need to do is you just need to spill your guts. Blow off some steam. Tell me what you're really thinking. Tell me what you're really feeling, what's bugging you. Get it off your chest. So Elijah does. Watch this. If you go into verse 19 or chapter 19, Elijah says, basically, there are 6 things that's bugging me, God. And he says, in the first place, I'm afraid. That woman's trying to kill me. Number 2, I'm bitter. Number 3, I'm angry. And on top of that, I'm lonely. And on top of that, I'm worried. And on top of it all, I'm depressed. No wonder he was burning out. No wonder he was a basket of emotions. Look what he's saying. All of these things. I'm tired, I'm angry, I'm afraid, I'm lonely, I'm worried, I'm depressed, and he goes on and names it all. That's tough to live in. You hear me? That's tough to live in. And if you swallow your emotions, your stomach keeps score. You'll hurt things in there that ain't supposed to be hurt. You'll stir up things in there that'll hurt you. Your stomach is keeping score. So if you don't talk it out, you're gonna take it out on yourself. So God says, you just need to ventilate. I learned something. I learned something in my many years of serving God. That God was not shocked by Elijah's griping. He wasn't shocked by the way Elijah felt. When he said, God, I'm angry, and I'm bitter, and I'm depressed, and I'm lonely, God wasn't surprised. God didn't say, you shouldn't feel that way, Elijah. He never said that. He listened. God knows your feelings better than you do. He wired you up. He just wants you to understand them, and by talking them out, it helps you to get in touch with the feelings and what you're thinking. God says, I'll listen as long as you want to talk, as long as you want to gripe, until your words run out, I'll listen to you. Have you ever wondered why some of the Psalms, how they got in the Holy Bible? I mean, if you read them, some of them are pretty vindictive. Read through them sometime. Listen to David. I mean, he's like very, very good. In the valley of the shadow of death and all that. You go, oh, isn't that nice? But I hear him say, God, I hate my enemies. Well, you're not supposed to say that. I can't stand them. He says, I want them all dead. In fact, I want their whole families dead. I want to kick their teeth in. You believe that's in the Bible? That's what it says. I want to kick their teeth in. How'd that get in the Bible? It's called God wants us to understand. He's not afraid of what you say. He doesn't want you cussing the waitress out. He don't want you going to your job and getting fired because you tell your boss off. But he wants you to tell him because he can take it. I learned something. God's not afraid of my emotions. I can't tell you the times that I'd get alone in my car and I'd shake my fist at him. Say, I don't understand one thing you're doing. I'm so mad at you, I don't ever want to serve you again. You think God might get on to you. But I hear a scripture in my ear that says, casting all of our care upon him because he cares for us. I hear him saying, come on, David, tell me how you really feel. I can handle it. Tell me, David, what's really bothering you? And like Elijah, you say things like, I'm scared, and I'm tired, and I'm weary. And I found out there is no emotion that you can express to God that's going to make him stop loving you. There's not one thing you can scream at him that's going to keep him from loving you, because he understands your emotions. He understands your burnout. He understands your hurt and your pain when you've gone the last mile. You don't know where you can pull from it one more time. You don't know how you can open your eyes to one more morning. You don't know how you can close your eyes to one more night. And you say to God in frustration, I'm so mad at you. God says, come on. I can handle this. God, I'm worried. I sometimes doubt that you even exist. God, I'm worried. I'm lonely. I'm frustrated. He says if you want to get well, first rest your body. Then release your frustrations or your emotions. So how are you feeling today? A little stressed out, uptight, overloaded? Yeah, all of those. Thank you very much. Casting all of our care upon him, because he cares for us. I was able to check my emotions here today, but this morning in this early service, I got to that place where I said, there's not one thing that you can say to God that is going to keep him from loving you, and I broke. I cried like a baby. I'm sorry, but I did. Because I remember those days. I remember what I said. I remember the anger in my voice, the hatred. I remember being so burnt out, so down and out, that I couldn't control my emotions. I was living off very little sleep. I was tired and weary and worn and beaten down. And I thought God wasn't anywhere in sight to be seen. People come to me and say to me oftentimes, you know, I've never told this to anybody else. And then they'll start sharing the pain and the hurt that they've had. God never meant for you to go through your life like that by yourself on your own. You do need to find a buddy, not a gossip, not somebody that's going to tell your darkest secrets, not somebody that can't wait till you leave so they can tell it. You need to find somebody you can trust with your deepest and darkest emotions. And they're not going to judge you. They're not going to hate you for it. And unload. It's the best thing that ever happened. I told you I met a pastor last week. I told you I met a pastor. And we talked about this some. And I told him, I said, we need a place where pastors can come, not be judged, not be told everything's all right, but absolutely you can share your heart with them, and they'll take it to the grave with them. I think I told you this, but during the time that I was walking through this dark valley, found two pastors. Neither one of them are pastors now, but both of them were in district leadership in churches, high churches. And we went out to a restaurant one night, and we got to talking, and I told them where I was at. I said, I'm out. I checked out. I'm in bad shape. I remember using those words. I said, I'm in bad shape. And they looked at me, and they didn't know what to say. Finally, one of them said, you just need to pray. There was a righteous indignation that flew up in me, and I turned to him, and I said, let me tell you something. I've been a pastor for 35 years. You don't think I know I need to pray? My problem is I can't pray. They sit there dumbfounded with no answers. You get to the place you can't do anything. The devil's got you where he wants you. Rest. Find some place with God or with somebody that you can share your emotions. And only then will God begin to heal your hurt. Thirdly, refocus. Refocus on God. You have to get to the place that you get your eyes off of your problems and you start looking at Jesus. There was a lady that came to mine in Teresa's house for 3 or 4 years probably. Every single solitary night. I was a young pastor. I didn't know to cut her off. And she came every night. And I heard the same story. The same story of her pain and her problems. And I realized one day we were a crutch, and I said to her, I said, look, we can't do this. All we've become is a crutch to you. We're not healing you. You're not getting better. You're just using us for a crutch. But you need to get your eyes off of your problem. Get a fresh awareness. Here's a good part now. Hang in here. Don't go to sleep yet. A fresh awareness of God's power and His presence in your life. This is the third key to overcoming burnout. Look at verse 11 in chapter 19. He says to Elijah, go out and stand before me on the mountain, the Lord told him. Strange advice. Eat, sleep. Now what are you doing here? Well, I'm not sure what I'm doing here. I've been a good servant, but nobody cares. I'm out. So he says to him, go stand in the mouth of the cave. Watch this. Go stand out on the mountain. Elijah, I want to get alone with you. Can I tell you something? Get along with God for a while. He says to Elijah, I got something for you to see. So Elijah goes out there, and in the next few verses, God puts on this massive, spectacular, incredible, pyrotechnic, multimedia event just for one little prophet. Does that tell you God will go to extremes for you? God will go to extremes for you. Go out and stand on the mountain in my presence and watch this. All of a sudden, a powerful wind. I don't mean a little wind, I mean a powerful wind. Pours through the mountain, tears the mountain apart, shatters the rocks before the Lord. And it was not a hurricane wind. And after that wind, there was an earthquake. But the Lord was not in the earthquake. I was in an earthquake one time. I was in Peru. My bed starts dancing across the floor. I'm like, maybe a truck hit the hotel. I don't know. I jump out and run outside. There's an earthquake. They just had one in a country where I was at not too many years ago. But the Lord was not in an earthquake. And after the earthquake came a fire. But the Lord was not in the fire. Some kind of firestorm. Watch this. And after the fire came a gentle whisper. A small, still voice. And Elijah heard it. He pulls his cloak over his face and he went out, stood. And the Lord said to him again, hey, Elijah, now what are you doing here? Why did God do this? First, He gives this spectacular hurricane, wind, then an earthquake, then a firestorm, then He speaks in a small, still voice. What was God doing? He was reminding Elijah of His power. Listen to me now, listen. What He was saying was, Elijah, I'm still the boss. I'm still in control. You see, one of the things that burnout does, it makes us feel like we've got to hold the world up. We've got to take responsibility for everything. We're the boss, and we try to be God. God says, I'm sovereign. I don't need fire, wind, or thunderstorms. It's just me. You think things are bad, but my power is far greater than any problem that you'll face in this world. I'm in control. You know, I told you last week about being a control freak. That was me. I was a control freak. I had everything planned out. Everything worked the way I wanted it to work. And when it didn't, I went berserk. And God reminded me, I'm in control. Because the root of all burnout is playing God. If you're trying to play God at your house, you're in trouble. If you're trying to play God with your finances, you're in trouble. If you're trying to play God in your marriage, you're in trouble. Because there ain't but one God, and He gets to be it, not us. Think about that. Think about it. When you start playing God, when you start acting as if God doesn't matter, like you have to make it all work. That was the way I did. I always told God how to make everything work. And you'd think I'd learn, but it took me a lot of years to learn. In fact, it took me 10 years of walking through hell to learn. I'm not God. When you think that you're the manager of your life, you're not. You're setting yourself up for burnout. God never intended on you to manage your life. He said, casting all of our care upon Him. He wants to manage your life. He made you. He made you and Him, you for Him, Him for you. Thank you. Until you understand that, life is never going to make any sense. Some years ago, Frank Sinatra died. He was famous for that song, I Did It My Way. What an arrogant song. I did it my way. Well, when he was dying, he said, I'm losing it. You know why? He didn't do it his way. God said, when you're going to die and when you're going to live. God's still the manager of this universe. God says, Elijah, I don't want you to focus on the big things anymore. Focus on me. When I don't know where to turn, focus on me. When you don't know what to do, focus on me. Not on everything else, not your problems, not your failures. Focus on my grace. Focus on my mercy. Focus on me. Casting all of your care upon Him, for He cares for you. And that's the secret. This is a secret of endurance. Reverence God because He gives personal, deep strength in us. Rest, release, refocus. One more step. This one may be the most important. Probably helped me better than any part of my journey. Resume serving others. I just want to give you a shock value. Stop thinking about yourself, you little whiny butt. That's what God said to me. Stop thinking about yourself. I'm not going to. Nobody cares. I'm going to do this. God's like, I'm so tired of hearing that. Start thinking of others who are less fortunate than you. I know when you're in pain, all you can see is yourself. If you look around, you'll find somebody, I promise you, you'll find somebody that's in much more pain than you are. I know it's hard to believe, but no matter what you're going through, you can almost always find somebody who is less fortunate than you are. One of the ways of getting out of burnout is to start giving your life away again and helping somebody else. The more you give away, the more God blesses you. So I'm walking through this long, long journey. I told you one time, I was talking to Teresa one day, and she said, I was telling about her or something. She said, you make everybody think that this was just like gone through in a couple of months, it was all over. She said, you understand we walked through this thing 10 years. And I was like, oh yeah, we really did, didn't we? And I mean, she called a lot of hell through that time because I was so hurt. burnt out, angry, tired, weary, lonely, depressed. And I remember I got to this place. God finally got me to this place where I said to the Lord one day, I said, I'm done. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to serve you no matter what. I may not ever preach again. I may not ever pastor again. I may not do anything but just find something to do. But I'm going to serve you. I'm not giving up. I'm not quitting. I'm over that. Devil's not going to win. I said, but I'll be happy to do that. And God said to me, who said I was finished with you? Who said you get to stop? I never told you that. And so I changed that prayer, and I said, the same prayer that I prayed in this church only across town almost 50 years ago, probably a little over 50 years ago. And I said to him, I'll go where you want me to go. I'll be what you want me to be. I'll do what you want me to do. I'm giving my life to you. All of a sudden, I prayed that same prayer. I said, Lord, I'm giving my life to you. Whatever you want me to do, wherever you want me to go, whatever you want out of my life, it's yours. If I never preach again, I'm good with that. If I never pastor a church again, I'm good with that. Just whatever you want in my life. Just a little while, my phone rang. The other end was one of the guys that was serving this church at the time. Their pastor just resigned, and he called and said, we'd like to come have lunch with you if it's okay. I guess so. He drove all the way up to my house, and we went out for a lunch, dinner or something, I don't remember. And he said, we don't have a pastor. I said, yeah, I know. He said, we all feel like you're the man. We don't want to offer it to anybody else. We don't even want it to get out on the market. Ain't nobody would have wanted much of it, I can tell you, running 25 people and $200 in the bank. That's not enticing to a pastor. He said, but we think you are the one. God reminded me. I went home, and God reminded me, you said, I'll go where you want me to go. You said you'd do what I want you to do. I want you to go back to Rankin. I can't go back there, Lord. That's hometown, man. That's going back to where I started. He said, right. Watch this. See if I can find it. 1 Kings 19. He says to Elijah, go back the way you came to the desert of Damascus. When you get there, anoint Hazael, anoint Jehu, and anoint Elisha. You know what he was saying to him? I still got ministry for you to do. I still got work for you to do. I still got plans for you. And I told Teresa she had a really good job, and I was hoping she's going to be the next county tax commissioner, and I could play golf every day. She'd have made more money than both of us at that time. And I said to her, I think we got to go back to Rankin. She said, you know, my grandbabies live up here. That meant I'm not really interested in going back nowhere where my grandbabies ain't. I said, I really, really think this is what God wants. So she said, well, if that's what God wants, let's do it. And I didn't realize that God was sending me back here to build a church. I didn't realize he was sending me back here to train the next generation to take over when I'm gone. I didn't realize that. And there anoint Hazael and Jehu and Elisha. And Elisha said, give me a double portion. And God blessed him. Elijah, he says, if you really want to get out of this funk you're in, go back and do ministry. I thought I was finished, done, and out. In fact, I went to that little church we were in to die away, to quit. God said, I've still got ministry for you. Listen, some of you came here to Maranatha Family so you could say that in spite of your depression, in spite of the problems, in spite of the hurt you've gone through, in spite of the burnout, God is saying to you, I'm not finished with you yet. I've got work for you to do. I've got a Jehu out there that needs you. I got an Elisha out there that needs you. I've got a Hazael who needs you. And Elijah, I need you to go there and talk to them boys. This is not the end. In spite of the steps you take, God says, move on. And the quickest way to defeat depression is to get your eyes off of yourself, start focusing on helping other people, and giving your life away. Jesus said, you'll find it. Elijah needed to get his eyes off of himself. Some of you are tired today. You need rest. You really do. That's not a sleight of hand. You need some rest. Every now and then I'll say to one of these guys after a hard week, take a day, refresh, recharge, start again. Because I know how hard they worked. Sometimes you just need that. Sometimes a pastor needs to take a minute and go off somewhere. I don't ever do that, but some pastors ought to. I do. I like to fish, hunt, play golf. And I do a minute. I'm sure there are people here today who felt like Elijah did. You're tired, you're weary, you're worn out. Many of you just want to pull the covers up over your head and say, I don't even want to get out of bed today. I don't want to go to work. I told you about the preacher, or the guy didn't want to go to work. I told you about that. He said, I'm not going today to church. His mom said, well, you're going to have to. He said, no, I'm not going. Tired of church. Tired of being a part of it. I'm not going. She said, you got to go. He said, give me a good reason why. She said, you're the pastor. Teresa told me that a few times too. You're tired and weary and worn out. Let me tell you something. Either you've been through it, you're going to go through it, or you're in it now. And God is telling you today, I've got you. Don't let it destroy you. Don't let it beat you out. I've got it. You know, the only problem with this whole scenario I've told you is that it took me 10 years to learn it. 10 years. Please don't go through it 10 years. Don't let it take you to the depths of depression. Don't let it put a gun to your head. Don't let it kill you. God's got you, casting all of our care on Him because He cares for us. Bow your heads. Sometimes it's hard for me to walk through that story again because it's very painful. It's traumatic. But I believe God taught me some good lessons to help others learn. And today you may be in that place that you just burn out. Your job, your family, your kids, your money, whatever, just burn out. And God's reminding you today, casting all of our care upon Him. If you don't learn another verse, learn that one. Casting all of our care upon Him because He cares for us. The devil wants you to think nobody cares. Nobody understands. Nobody wants to be a part of it. God said, tell it to me. No matter how bad it is, tell it to me. As your heads are bowed and your eyes are closed, just quickly, and I did this in the first service. If that's you, if you're in that place, you're in that deep, dark place, slip your hand right back up, right back down, just all over this place. You know, it was surprising. I had young people in that service today, teenagers, raise their hand. And I thought, my God, they're teenagers. How are they going through this? Yet they were. Right up, right back down. Anybody else? Scores of hands have gone up. Anybody else? Yeah, I'm going to tell you something. That's a hard road to hoe. My daddy used to say, it's a hard place to be. God wants to help you. Father, you saw the hands. Oh, my God. My heart of compassion, as well as yours, goes out to them. I know where they're walking. I know the pain they're feeling. Lord, help us today. Help us today to make it in this situation. Speak to their hearts right now. Remind them, I've got you. You're not going anywhere. I've got you. I'm not going to let you down. Cast all of your care upon me. I've got you. Lord, speak to hearts right now. I'm just going to open. I didn't do it the first service. We ran out of time, but I'm going to open this service, open this altar. And if you feel like you need prayer today for that specific thing, I'm going to invite you to come down. Donnie's going to lead them in singing this. You help him if you will. And if you need prayer, come. We're going to pray with you today. Go of me. us today, Lord. Look beyond. See that you're still there. God, never let go of me. Come on, church, sing it. Praise the Lord with us today. You never let go. No, you hold on to it. You never let go. Every high, every low. You never let go. Lord, you never let go of me. Lord, you never let go. Lord, you never let go of me. You never leave my side, Lord. Lord, you never let go of me.
Are you grateful for the word of the Lord, church? Lord, thank you for meeting with your people. Thank you for your presence, Jesus.
All right, that was a good message, wasn't it? Something we all need to realize, and definitely learning to trust in God no matter what's coming our way. We just want to thank everybody for being here today. Again, just meet and greet. There's a lot of newcomers every Sunday, which is a great thing for our church. We're continuing to grow. And most importantly, when we come here, we know we're getting fed from the pastor and from the word, and definitely what God wants for our lives. Again, thank you for being here. Y'all are dismissed.